How's it going, everyone? Got a new series for you guys. This is my PlayStation Plus 10 game recommendations for the month of December 2022. So how I'm going to do this is obviously I'm not going to take a look at 10 games that were given out this month entirely. We're going to look at 5 games across Essential and Extra that were updated into the library this month, and then also 5 games that have already been available that I think you guys should check out, so you get a bit of the best of both worlds, because I think nobody has actually gone through the entire lineup of Extra, so we'll talk about that, and then also, obviously, want to give you guys a heads up on the Essential recommendations for this month, because it's a great month for the Essential subscribers as well. So let's start with that off the top. BIOMUTANT is one of the games I would recommend you guys to play. I know that when it came out back in May of 2021, this is a game that got an incredibly mixed reception, and rightfully so. It had a lot of buzz. It was coming from a new studio in Experiment 101. However, a lot of talented developers were working on the game, and the game was so unique from a presentation standpoint. It was a post-apocalyptic game, but it had this colorful and vibrant world, and unfortunately, it was a little bit rough around the edges. The combat, while interesting, didn't have a ton of depth, and I think not a lot of people got invested into the story. The narration left a lot to be desired. However, I do think the open world, the exploration, and as I mentioned, the combat, interesting enough, did offer something that was somewhat good, just not at the level of what I think a lot of people were expecting. I'll also add that if you do have a PlayStation 5, this game got a free PlayStation 5 upgrade, runs tremendously on there. So it's an open world post-apocalyptic Kung Fu Fable RPG. Keep your expectations in line, but expect good customizability options, expect a colorful world to explore, expect some decent combat, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the offerings that BIOMUTANT is going to give you. Next up, no-brainer, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Look, if you have never played the Mass Effect trilogy, or you just haven't played it in a long time, maybe you didn't check out the Legendary trilogy, maybe the last time you played the Mass Effect games were on the PlayStation 3, and the PlayStation 3, or PlayStation platforms in general, never even got Mass Effect 1, so there's a lot of reason to go back and play Mass Effect through this Legendary Edition. It includes all 3 games, all of the game's respective DLC. Sure, you don't get Mass Effect 3's multiplayer mode, which actually, I saw a lot of people being somewhat upset by that, but nonetheless, most of you guys want to play this game for the single-player story, and that is absolutely tremendous in Mass Effect. Mass Effect is just one of the best gaming trilogies that has ever been created. I don't think it's hyperbole at all to say that, and yes, Mass Effect 1 is one of those 2007 games that just show its age. There's a lot of games from 07 that show its age. I look at a game like The Witcher 1, I look at a game like Uncharted 1, and Mass Effect 1 kind of falls into that category as well. They did what they could to try to improve the game, but, you know, it still is what it is. It's still a really good game and worth playing, but then once you get to Mass Effect 2, okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking about one of the best video games ever created. And again, I think a lot of you guys would agree with me that have played it. It's not a stretch to say that. Mass Effect 2 is just a tremendous game, and Mass Effect 3 is really good as well. Just, I think, you know, the lasting impression is the conclusion of the game, but it's still a really, really solid game, and just one of the best trilogies ever, so just a very good pickup. Definitely check it out, and it's free with your Plus Essential subscription, so definitely go play that. Okay, moving on from that, let's talk about the games being added to Plus Extra this month. Judgment, absolutely worthwhile to go through and play this. Judgment is done by RGG, the same studio that brings you the great Yakuza games, and there's a lot of elements of Yakuza that are present here in Judgment. The reason why a lot of the times I'll recommend people to get into RGG's video games with Judgment is for a variety of reasons. First of all, this is a game that was built ground up for the PlayStation 4. When you look at games like Yakuza 6, those were PlayStation 3 games, and the earlier Yakuza titles, PlayStation 3 or even PS2 games initially, with Judgment built ground up for the PlayStation 4, has English voice acting as well, and it still offers a great gameplay style, a lot of gameplay, a varied amount of gameplay, an engaging story, a great main character, and solid visuals. All in all, it's a fantastic game, and if you have a PlayStation 5, another one, you're getting the PlayStation 5 version here, so that's going to be well worth it for you as well. Just, you know, clear up a weekend or two, because this is going to take you quite a while, especially if you're looking to do everything. If you just want to rush through the main story, you can complete it, not quickly, but you can complete it quicker, let's say that. Next up, we got Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. This is a game that I imagine the majority of you guys have played, but if you haven't, definitely reason to go back and play through this. Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War both got added to Plus Extra. They're about to be added on the 20th to Plus Extra, and they're both worthwhile playthroughs. Obviously, start with Middle-earth: Shadow of War, an excellent open-world action-adventure game, some satisfying combat. I wish we did have a full-on PS5 upgrade, but hey, what can you do? The game came out in 2014, and, you know, you usually don't see things like that. Shadow of Mordor is a great game, and again, after you beat this, maybe do some of the side content, jump into Shadow of War as that's being added as well. Lastly, as far as this month's lineup, gotta give a shout to Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Ultimate Edition. I don't see a lot of buzz around this edition, but this is a really good one that, yes, I know that this is the type of game that isn't gonna cater towards a lot of the PlayStation audience and just console players in general, but it's a really, really well-made RPG. I personally didn't like it as much as Pillars of Eternity 1, but it's still a really solid game. Great setting, a lot of replayability, and a lot of customizability options as well. Pretty solid story all around, a lengthy game as well. If you're trying to get the most out of the game, it's going to take you quite a while, and it's still going for an MSRP of $59.99. It obviously goes on sale cheaper than that, but the fact that it being added to Extra, that is a sizable addition, and definitely a great one to check out as well if you're into a classic RPG. Alright, with those 5 out of the way, those are all rolling out this month. In the case of BIOMUTANT Mass Effect Legendary Edition, those are live right now. The other 3 are going to be rolling out on the 20th. By the time you guys are watching this video, maybe they're already live. Okay, now let's talk about some existing plus extra games that I would recommend you to check out. This one's pretty timely. Ys VIII Lacrimosa of Dana. Ys 10 just got announced, and there seems to be a little bit of buzz with Ys as a franchise in general. Guys, if you are remotely a Japanese RPG fan, I would say check out Ys. It's one of the most consistent franchises that you're gonna find in gaming right now, and Ys does not get the love of a lot of other JRPG franchises, and I'm not gonna say it's on the level of a Persona, I'm not gonna say it's on the level of a Final Fantasy, but, you know, Final Fantasy is somewhat inconsistent, so who am I to say that? But Ys is really solid. Yes, from a technical standpoint, it's not a blowaway, but what you do have in Ys 8, great combat, great story, great music. I cannot say enough good things about the music in Ys 8. It is just fantastic. And again, from a narrative standpoint, Ys 8 is actually a really, really well-made game. Sure, there's some elements of like the traversal that I'm not crazy about, but probably in the minority on that. It's just a really solid JRPG, an action JRPG at that. Very satisfying to play. Ys 8 available on Plus Extra, and Ys 9 is available on Plus Extra as well. Thought I would recommend Ys 8 over 9 for now, but yo, check out 9 as well. 9's a really solid game, and I think a lot of people did enjoy 9 over 8 even. Alright, next up, we have Wolfenstein: The New Order. I'm not just going to be recommending you guys a bunch of RPGs that are going to be massive undertakings, so why not a 12-hour first-person shooter? Wolfenstein: The New Order was a great early PlayStation 4 title. It reignited the franchise, and Wolfenstein was a franchise that kind of went to the wayside for quite a while, but this is a very, very high-octane first-person shooter. A pretty interesting story as well. Wolfenstein does get a bit wacky at times, but this is a really, really well-made FPS. Again, wish that it did have a significant upgrade on PS5, but it is what it is. Still a solid experience all in all. And again, with the games in your backlog, you guys have a billion games. Sometimes you want something that you can complete probably in a weekend or so, and Wolfenstein: The New Order is going to offer you exactly that. Next up, here's a game that I find to be somewhat underrated, and that is Vampyr. This is a game done by Don't Nod Entertainment, the same people that brought you Life is Strange. And while I say Vampyr is a bit underrated, seemingly it did fairly well from a commercial standpoint with Don't Nod's expectations and focus the publisher's expectations in line. Vampyr is a pretty interesting game. Very, very interesting story. I think that's what most people are going to get into this game for. The gameplay isn't blowaway by any stretch of the imagination, and sometimes it does get a little bit janky, but they added some different options and modes that do make the game a bit more accessible. But narratively, atmosphere-wise, from those standpoints, Vampyr is a very, very engaging game. Obviously, you play as Jonathan Reed. He's a doctor, things go awry, and as a vampire, you are cursed to feed on those you vow to heal. It's a pretty interesting dichotomy there, and definitely one that I would recommend you to check out. One that went under the radar back in 2018, but one that I think is very much worth playing. Next up, like I mentioned with Wolfenstein, I'm not just here to recommend you guys games that are a little bit on the lengthier side, some games to get in and get out. What Remains of Edith Finch is a really good one in that sense. A collection of strange tales about a family in Washington State. As Edith, you'll explore a colossal Finch house, searching for stories as she explores her family's history and tries to figure out why she's the last one in her family left alive. This game saw a really solid reception. Not necessarily a game that I was super compelled with, but generally speaking, everyone really, really enjoyed it. And I definitely did find the story engaging, and there was a lot of twists and turns, and once you start unfolding what is actually going on, I think it's a rather compelling game. Obviously, this game is super, super short. We're talking like 3 hours short, so You can get in, have an engaging experience, then you can move on to the next title in your backlog. So What Remains of Edith Finch, I think, is the perfect game to get in for one session, complete it, and then move on. Lastly, South Park: The Stick of Truth is a game that I absolutely have to recommend. Now, as you guys might know, I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm not a big South Park guy. I've watched a couple of this stuff, I saw the pandemic special, and I definitely found it hilarious. I just have never sat down and really given South Park a shot in terms of getting invested into the story. I don't think people get super invested into South Park. I think it's just a lot of comedy, and sometimes I'll see, you know, my boys watching it and whatnot. South Park: The Stick of Truth not only has the hilarity that I'm sure South Park is known for, like, this is a hilarious RPG, it's also a fundamentally well-designed game, and the fact that you're taking South Park, you're taking this comedy, and then you're also dropping it into an RPG developed by Obsidian, yes, that Obsidian, and you're making it into a well-made RPG, it just makes the whole package even more hilarious, and I just cannot say enough good things about South Park: The Stick of Truth. Look, if you're a South Park fan, I am sure you're going to enjoy this game even more than I did, and I already really enjoyed this game. And while it is an RPG, it's not a super lengthy RPG, so don't worry about it taking up a lot of time in your backlog. You're going to be able to complete this game rather quickly, but it does have those, you know, RPG mechanics, and it works really well. So definitely another one I would give a shot to. Fractured But Whole is also available through PlayStation Plus Extra. But that is going to do it for me. Again, I think this new series will help give you at least a little bit of direction on my recommendations on what's available in Plus. I'll give you guys updates every month as we see the lineups come out. But that'll do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.